सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय।
जय।
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय।
जय।
वृंदावन राम की जय।
जय।
मथुरा धाम की जय।
जय।
धाम की जय। जमुना माई की जय। गंगा माई की जय।
जय।
तुलसी देवी की जय।
जय।
भक्ति देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय। Nitai Gura Nandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glory Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimani Bhakti Swami Tinamini Namaste. Sri Guru Karna Shakti Bhakti. Narayana Namaskritya Narunche Vam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nasta Prayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. Good morning, everybody. So this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam is from Canto 1. Bhagavatam is Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 28, and it's going to be Text 29 also. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the text, both of them, 3 times. No, we'll do 28 3 times, and then you can repeat after me if you want. We'll do 29 later. Okay. Pravistam tu griham pitro parivakta samatribi vavande shirasa sapta devaki pramukamuda pravistastu griham pitro parivakta swamatribi vavande shirasa sapta devaki pramukamuda pravistastu griham pitro Parivakta Swamatrivi Vavande Shirasa Sapta Devaki Pramukamuda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pravishtastu graham pitro parishvaktah swamatrabhi vavande shirasha sapta devaki pramukhamuda.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Pravishtastu graham pitro parishvaktah svamatribhi vavande shirsa sapta devaki prabhumukhamuda.
Hare Krishna. Pravishtastu gruham pitroho parishvaktah swamatrubihi bhavande shirasha sapta devaki pramukhamuda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Pravishtastu graham pitro प्रविष्टास्तु गृहं पित्रो परिष्वक्ता स्वमातृभिः भवन्ते शिरसा सप्त देवकी प्रमुखा मुदा.
Right. Anyone else?
प्रविष्टस्तु गृहं पित्रो परिष्वक्ता स्वमातृभिः भवन्ते शिरसा सप्ता देवकी प्रमुखा मुदा.
Excellent. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, we do word for word. Pravishta, after entering. To, but. Griham, houses. Pitro, of the father. Parishbhakta, embraced. Swamatribi, by his own mothers. Vavandi, offered obeisances. Shirasa, his head. Sapta, 7. Devaki, Devaki. Pramukha, headed by. Muda, gladly. Translation by Zubangis A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mothers present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears that Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna, had completely separated residential quarters where he lived with his 18 wives, out of whom Srimati Devaki is the real mother of Lord Krishna. But in spite of this, all other stepmothers were equally affectionate to him, as will be evident from the following verse. Lord Krishna also did not distinguish his real mother from his stepmothers, and he equally offered his obeisances unto the wives of Vasudeva present on the occasion. According to scriptures also, there are 7 mothers: the real mother, the wife of a spiritual master, the wife of a Brahmin, the wife of a king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. All of them are mothers. Even by this injunction of the Shastras, the stepmother, who is the wife of the father, is also as good as the mother, because the father is also one of the spiritual masters. Lord Krishna, the Lord of the universe, plays the part of an ideal son just to teach others how to treat their stepmothers. We'll go to text 29 now. Taputam ankam arupya sneha snuta payudara hasha valitatmana sisichu nita jala. Ta, all of them. Putram, the son. Ankam, the lap. Aropya, having placed on. Sneha snuta, moistened by affection. Payodhara, breasts filled up. Hasha, delight. Vivalita atmana, overwhelmed by. Sishishu, wet. Nitraje, from the eyes. Jale, water. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and their tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the Lord was at Vrindavan, even the cows would become moistened by affection towards him. And he would draw milk from the nipples of every affectionate being. So what to speak of the stepmothers, who were already as good as his own mother. Oma gina timrandasya, gyana gana shalakaya, jakshu omilitam yena tasma shri guruve namaha, shri chaitanya manobistam tapitam yena bhutale, vayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaisnavam Scha. Sri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhve Evacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadha Sivachari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine. Nirveshesha Sunyavari Paschatya Shatarine. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guratishe Namaha. Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya. Imavya Divacha Vishnaraya. Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya. Titani Tindaya Namo Namaste. Titani Tindaya Namo Namaste. Titani Tindaya Namo Namaste. Titani Tindaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So text 28, Canto 1, Chapter 11, the English translation. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mothers present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. Text 29, English translation. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wedded the Lord. Hare Krishna. So, Krishna has arrived at Dwarka. Many of the residents had come out to meet him, and they are extremely happy that he has returned. For him, he is equal to everyone. For him, he is self-satisfied. But he returns love for love. You give him love, he'll give you love back. And that makes all the sense in the world, because Krishna has everything, and he's unlimited. And if everything is provided, then the only thing that brings life is happiness expressed to each other, and love also expressed to each other. So it's a give and take situation, and Krishna, by his infinite power, has established innumerable aspects of the 5 rasas. And this particular ras is between him and parents, Vatsalya ras, particularly the mothers. So he entered as it says in the first text that we read, text 28, he entered the palace belonging to his father for this particular pastime, Vasudeva. And his 18 wives were there, and they met him showing so much love. This is what we're learning to do. Not that we are in Vasayaras, we are in Dasharas. By instruction, we are in Dasharas, a servant of a servant of a servant. Maybe when we get our original spiritual body, we'll be in a different ras. That's entirely possible, or we may still be in Dasharas. Each of the rases has sweetness to it. It doesn't really make much of a difference. And Srila Prabhupada has also described that when someone wants to relate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a particular ras, he's allowed to change form for that particular ras. Prabhupada says, and I'll quote him directly, the service is voluntary. Therefore, the rasa somebody wants to be in is voluntary. They may be the original Siddha Swarup form, but there is definitely allowance for different relationships based on how much love that that particular entity wants to establish and how they want to do it. So it is very, very, very wonderful to have that kind of relationship with Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada also made another point that the relationships in the material world, they come to an end. Even if the relationship endures the lifetimes of those who are relating to each other, because death comes later on, that relationship will end. But the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternal. Not only is the soul eternal and Krishna eternal, but the relationship between the individual souls and Krishna is also eternal and is never, ever broken. Sometimes in friendship, some people may relate well, and then some situation may happen and they will not like it and maybe intense, and after a while they will decide they will not see each other anymore, or they may break up for a while and go back together. I remember that in my high school days, there were friends that I was very, very close to, and then something happens, we get very upset, and then we don't speak to each other, and then but we still care about each other. So after a while, maybe one person, some weeks go by, one person says a statement and the other person responds, and then we realize that we care for each other, we're back again. No, that doesn't happen for Krishna. All the relationships go on and on. Anyway, so he came, Sri Krishna came to the house of his father, and he was embraced by the mothers who were present, who were wives of Vasudeva. The Lord, according to etiquette, he shows us so much about what he does in different situations. The Lord offered his obeisances to them. He placed his head at their feet. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but acting in the position of a son to them. And he also knows that if he acts that way, then the mothers would show even maximum love that they have for him. They already love him, but they will show it in so many ways by the way he's relating to them according to tradition. He placed his lotus head at their feet. Srila Prabhupada says that Vasudeva had a complete residential quarters. By the way, in Dwarka, there were a total of 900,000 palaces, 900,000. 16,108 of them belonged to Krishna's wives, and they were in a separate place. That was the Madhurya Ras relationship with them. But this one talks particularly about the Vatsalya Ras, the relationship between father and son and mother and son. Vasudeva playing the role of father, and then the 18 wives to stepmother 17, and then Srimati Devaki being the real mother according to this particular pastime. So, in spite of this, the fact that Devaki is the real mother, all the stepmothers were equally affectionate to him. All the stepmothers were equally affectionate to him. It is very, very important. And I've seen in some relationships with devotees, some of them my own God family members, that sometimes, we're in a situation where a person marries or remarries, and then there's the child by the first marriage, and then there's children in the second marriage. And the second wife sometimes is just, the later wife is shuns. In the case of Dhruva Maharaj, which was very, very, very bad situation. But in the end, Dhruva got Dhruvaloka out of it. The Lord Vishnu gave him a planet, a spiritual planet, a Vaikuntha type planet. But because Suruchi behaved so horribly towards Dhruva, and he was partial, So we see both sides of this, how important it is that even if a son is not your son, but you are in the vicinity or you are relating to him somehow through the husband that you have, how important it is. The stepmothers are showing it, to show equal affection to your own children as well as the children of the other mother. That brings so much harmony in a relationship. In Kali Yuga, sometimes we say, oh, well, this happens and that happens, and we come up with all kinds of excuses. But I remember once Inyasi, a long time ago, came to Washington, D.C., and he says, do not, and he was telling the Woodies, and I was at that class, do not blame Kali Yuga for your own folly. How he put it. And he was kind of smiling through this, but he meant it. Don't blame Kali Yuga for your own folly. His Holiness Guru Govinda Maharaj has also said that, yes, we are in Kali Yuga, but devotees should live with Satya Yuga consciousness. Just because we are in Kali Yuga, it does not mean that Kali Yuga, therefore, Kali Yuga will bring its challenges on us. But as Lord Ichabhadev has said in Canto 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, tolerate, learn to be tolerant of the different things that happen in life. They come, they go. Nothing is permanent. Even nice material happiness comes and it goes. And material distress comes and that also goes. The life that we're living are life based on 4 pillars of distress. They are the birth, and then at the end, death. Both are painful. In old age, quite painful, and disease, depending on what it is, different extents of pain. So that's just a situation here for us because we are in the material world. This is not home for us. How fortunate to even know that it's not home for us. Our home is back in Godhead, in the spiritual world. So those things will happen. We just tolerate. Don't be too attached to material happiness. Don't be too attached to material distress. We see it for what it is, pray, and go on. When we take shelter of the holy name, then Krishna knows that we're calling to him and Srimati Radharani. Therefore, the protection would be there. It says those who are surrendered to him, then this world that's difficult, it's difficult, true enough, but if you surrender to him, you can cross over it. My mind is not. So he says this material energy, divine, for me, Divya, divine, it's difficult, but those who are surrendered to me can easily cross over it. So that should be a reminder to us that Krishna is always in our corner as long as we keep following the devotional service, do's and don'ts. Then over time, which Papa says gradually, we will shed so many of the things that are unwanted and give our hearts fully to Krishna. And we will be very happy, just like the mothers. We were so happy to see Krishna. We will also get a chance to see Krishna. Now we're relating to Krishna in a deity form. And some of us, we don't have the eyes anointed with the salve of love, just like it's in the Brahma Samhita. Not yet, but the Lord is compassionate, and that time will come where we can relate wonderfully to the deity. Sometimes when you talk to some of the pujaris, they tell you the different moods of the deity after serving the deity for a while. There are some things that the deity responds to them. Sometimes mood changes, facial changes, sometimes smiles. It's wonderful. So the Lord does relate to all of us, depending on how determined we are to stay with the process of devotion service and how determined we are to chant sincerely, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there are 7 mothers: the real mother, wife of a spiritual master, wife of a Brahmin, wife of a king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. All of them are mothers. What is the underlying thing for all 7 of them? The underlying situation is nurturing. Nurturing. The real mother nurtures the child. The wife of the spiritual master is, as we say, Guru Mata, also very nurturing in their own way. Some of the mothers may feed actual food, prasadam. The wife of the spiritual master may be nurturing, and we add so much more. People tend to give their hearts and also share things in confidence with the spiritual master and the wife of the spiritual master. The wife of a Brahmana is in the mode of goodness. The wife would be in the mode of goodness. You'll be very nurturing. The wife of a king. So the king is Kshatriya. So much is on the king, a good king. These things, we don't find too many of them. But the Raja Rishi, he will be very, 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 very busy with the affairs of the state. The wife of a king is also nurturing and can help in situations where, you express something, if you're able to get close to the king, the wife of the king, and express to her that you get a direct connection between the wife and the husband. The husband is the king. Your grievances may be heard that way. Therefore, in that sense, then there's also nurturing from a mental standpoint. So the cow. The cow, Krishna loves cows, Surabhi cows. They are nurturing in how they feed us. Milk. Even cow urine is medicinal for us because they don't need medicines in the spiritual world. But here we do. And the cow is such an animal of nurturing for us. As it said in the Higher Taste, we made a good argument in that book, The Higher Taste. The first part of it, the second part is where the recipes are. But the first part shows a breakdown of the economics of having a cow alive rather than dead and be used for meat. So the cow is very, very important. The nurse, again, nurturing when a person is in a diseased condition, bringing that person back to proper health. Again, another form of nurturing. And then the earth. The earth, Mother Bhumi, we call Mother Bhumi, the earth's mother, we call Bhumi, nurtures all of us by support. Support of our lives, literally. The mother, the earth, gives us all of the things that we need to sustain this physical body. And so it's also the nurturing. So all of them underneath all of their services is a nurturing process. So Srila Prabhupada says, the wife of the father, the stepmother, who's not the direct mother of the child, is as good as the mother, again, because of the nurturing process. So the Lord related to them in this Vatsalya Ras like an ideal son to teach others how to treat their stepmothers. It is very important that we treat all mothers. As a matter of fact, Sri Prabhupada said that the Mataji, the women in the movement should be addressed as mothers. Mother so-and-so, mother so-and-so, Mataji, like that, so that we think of women in terms of mothers. And that will cement a good relationship between the men and the women. The men have to be addressed as Prabhu. So, more show of affection, as it's in text 29. The mothers, after embracing their son, the mothers, after embracing their son, the mothers embrace Krishna. Devaki is the mother of Krishna, but all the mothers were showing such affection to him as Devaki was showing to him also. Therefore, it is translated literally that way. Their son. They sat him on their laps. That's to show great affection. Due to pure affection from them, then even the milk, breast milk, started flowing. And they were overwhelmed with delight. And they were shedding tears. Tears of joy and tears of love. And the tears profusely just poured out of their eyes, and they wedded the Lord. So you can look at this. It's not hard to imagine this turn by turn. One mother showing such affection, and then Krishna sits on the lap, the next mother, and the next mother, and so on. And there is no showing of love greater from Devaki than that of the stepmothers. They were all equally showing as much love as they could. Love is what makes people happy in all the relationships. And Sri Prabhupada in the purport says that even in Vrindavan, the cows, the udders, would flow for love for Krishna with milk and moisten the grass, the earth, showing affection towards Krishna. So Krishna is all attractive. And in this particular ras, it's wonderful to even hear about it. It's exciting to hear about it. In many situations, Vatsalya ras, or the parental relationship, is described in the Shastra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 4. So this is the situation. This is, I'm not reading the text translation itself, but the purport talks about Atri Muni. Atri Muni, his wife was Anasuya, and they very much wanted Krishna to take birth as their son. So in this part, Sri Prabhupada is saying the sage Atri was related with the Lord in the affectionate Vatsalya humor, and therefore, as a result of his devotional perfection, he was inclined to have the personality of Godhead as his son. Atri Muni and Anasuya went through a lot of inconveniencing themselves, so that the Lord, and it took too much time, they just did prayers and got away from all activities and just prayed. And sometimes, different ways in which people inconvenience the body, standing on one leg and so on. So all those austerities were performed by Atri Muni and Anasuya, wanting the Lord. Actually, they were approached by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The Lord accepted, Lord Vishnu accepted, all three of them accepted, actually, the effort on their part, by the austerities that they went through. sometimes when we go through some austerities, we just get, it becomes a big trial for us. But we should learn from the sages and what they do, that yes, we won't be able to get to the state, the level of effort that they put in the austerities. But we are living in a world that we're going against the grain. Going against the grain, meaning that the majority of people are living this non-devotee life, and we are in there with them. It's like we are like a fish out of water. That's austerity for us. But on top of that, which means we have to maintain the lifestyle of a devotee and chant seriously. So Prabhupada says that's the passion for us. Obeying the regulated principles and chanting. That's our passion. Anyway, so the Lord accepted his prayer, the prayer of Atri Muni, and he gave himself as the son of Atri, Dada Atreya. Dada, the son of Atri, Dattatreya. So he came as the incarnation Dattatreya. Then Soma, from the son, also gave, and then of course Shiva came as Duvasa Muni. So they were all born to Atri Muni and Anasuya. Srila Prabhupada continues that because the Lord is unlimited, he has an unlimited number of father devotees. So that brings attention to, it wasn't only Vasudev, but he has father devotees depending on the pastimes and depending on how the Lord is served from the hearts of those who want to serve him in different ways. Even when it comes to mother, Putana wound up becoming a mother also. In the pastimes of Bali Maharaj and the Lord coming as the dwarf, in that pastime. So at that time, that Putana was actually one of the wives of Bali Maharaj, and he fell in love with Vamanadev. But then when Vamanadev expanded himself, and then we call him Trivikram then, and with 2 steps of land, 2 steps, his 2 steps cover the entire universe belonging to, or captured by, or owned temporarily by Bali Maharaj. Everything is owned by the Lord after all. That was the one that upset this particular wife of Bali Maharaj, and then he became inimical towards the Lord. And so he was born, first his love, first her love, and then her enmity. So she became a demon, Putana, but he tried to kill Krishna by giving breast milk. Krishna sucked the life out of her, but because that affection from the Lord was there earlier, in the earlier pastime involving Vamanadev, he got to go to the spiritual world and also be a mother, nursing the Lord. So Vasaya Ras is actually open to those who want to be in that situation, even those of us that are conditioned souls. But if we take the process seriously, we can, in fact, not only go back to Godhead, but be in one of the rasas that we hear about. The whole idea of the Shastra, this part that Srila Prabhupada describes, is to get us excited to want to relate to the love and to the Lord and increase our Krishna prema, love for the Lord. And then the happiness will come because the Lord will reciprocate that way. Srila Prabhupada continues. When in fact, the father actually serves his son, whereas the son only demands all sorts of services from the father. Therefore, a pure devotee who is always inclined to serve the Lord wants the Lord as a son so that they can serve the Lord as a father. So in writings of the past acharyas also, it's explained that in Vatsalya Ras, the parental mood of devotion, the other relationships are also there. like in the background. There are qualities of a santaras, which is a neutrality, and dasyaras, which is a service, servitorship. So, as I said earlier, before this one that I'm talking about, the devotee wants the Lord as the son so that they can serve him as a servant, but a parental type servant, trying to provide and also to protect the Lord. Nobody can defeat the Lord, but the Lord puts himself in a situation where sometimes a devotee can say, I am responsible for the Lord's welfare. Devaki was like that, very, 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 very disturbed about the situation when they were in the jail of Kamsa, the dungeon. The Lord left and went to Gokul again to be protected in the Vatsayaras, Nanda Baba and Yashoda. So the qualities of a Sakya consisting of the absence of restraint due to awe and respect. Friendship also is there, as well as an absence of fear of punishment and scolding. Now, when there is this Vasayaras, the person is a parent. Therefore, the Lord becomes the son, and so now it's the devotee that can exact punishment or even scold, and the Lord would actually play the role of being, taking whatever is coming from the parent. But you know that actually the relationship is that of love, trying to get the Lord to do the right thing. But this is all part of pastimes. So also there are activities of tending to the needs of the Lord. So devotees in Vasayaras see themselves as a guardian of Krishna. And he is regarded as their son or their ward. So these fourfold characteristics, Vasayaras, that is when we're talking about fourfold, this the neutrality, the service, and the friendship, they are all involved in the parental. It's all there, but it shows in different ways. Vasayaras is as delicious as nectar, Srila Prabhupada says. Krishna himself is immersed in that nectarian bliss in the company of his devotees. So Vasayaras is also very, 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 very sweet. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, text 28 of chapter 19, in the purport, Prabhupada again stresses Vasayaras as Santa, Dasya, Sakya, and Vasaya all rolled in one. Now, on the platform of parental love, the qualities of Santaras, neutrality, Dasyaras, servitorship, Sakyaras, friendship, they are fully developed, but they are developed in another form. The sense of maintaining the Lord. Therefore, on the platform of parental love, there exists a combination of these qualities, the transcendental mellows, Santa, Dasya, Sakya, and parenthood. So the mellow of parenthood puts the devotees in the position of a maintainer. Indeed, without formality, the devotee takes the position of maintainer and regards the Lord as the object of maintenance. That's on the platform of parental love, the qualities, the four transcendental mellows of the love of Krishna, they are present. Now, what about this world that we're in now? Are these rasas present in the material world? Well, in the Nectar Devotion class, Prabhupada describes this. Ada Sakya Udva Mulam, the roots on top, the branches are downward. So this is also described in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. What is it? the banyan tree. Things are upside down. The roots are up, the branches are down. Nishi Prabhupada means, he says, this means this material world, all the varieties. Here also there's a representation of Santaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, even Vasayaras and Madhuryaras. All 5 of them are here. But it's only a reflection. It's not the real. So at the time Sri Prabhupada was talking to his disciples, he was sitting under a tree. This is in Nava. This is the earth. The earth is serving as a center, neutrality. Similarly, we got servants. And the servants, some home services, Nidasyaras. Then we got our friends, Sakyaras. Then we got our parents, Vatsayaras. We got our lovers also, like Madhuryaras. But it's only a reflection. And so Sri Prabhupada says, in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga, it's quite obvious. This is compared like with a mirage. Just like in the desert, there's a reflection of water, and from far, when you look, the desert is all dry, but at a distance, you may see what looks like water. Actually, there's no water. So he says, in like manner, or similarly, all these perverted reflections of Santaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, they are all like a mirage. It's simply a reflection. It's no actual fact. Here, nobody's friend, nobody's servant, nobody's parent, nobody's lover. It's simply a bondage of some self-interest. The servant is not actually interested in serving the master. And we all know that. The employee and the employer, is there love between them? Hardly ever. If there is, then why do they say, thank God it's Friday? Friday is the last day of the week. People want to get away from where they're serving their master, the employer. Why they want to get away from it? I can do things that I want to do on my own. I don't have to be at work. And then Monday, another week starts, people have to gear themselves mentally to go into it again. So where is the love? So this is all, it's there, dasya, but in a perverted form. What's the real motivation? The master gives money, payment. So as soon as the payment is stopped, there'll be no more service. Master says, I can't pay you anymore. That employee would leave. So Srila Prabhupada is saying this is a perverted reflection of that service attitude in the Vaikuntha planet. Similarly, we've seen there is cases between mothers and sons. Sometimes it goes to court and they spend lots of money. They can't come to some decent conclusion. Somebody's going to be definitely affected very negatively at the end of it, even if judgment is passed. But it's between mother and son. Sometimes that's the way it is. The situation gets so bad. So the motherly affection or paternal affection, that's here is simply a shadow. And people try to show their love, but there's always motivation too behind it. For devotees though, our relationship should be based on what we read in the Shastra, and we try to get as close to it as possible because our life is practice towards what we're going to be doing in the different rasas in the spiritual world. So for us, even though we're in the material world and what we have is really a reflection of the real thing, we can take it seriously, following the instructions and the activities of the Lord and the Lord's devotees to improve the relationships we have, including the Vatsalya relationship, so that in the end, we go to the spiritual world and act, or we act so well here that we can fit into the spiritual world the way things are done there as far as loving expressions in the different rasas. So Krishna was showing such wonderful relationships to mother and stepmother alike. 17 stepmothers, and then Devaki, mother for this particular pastime in Dwarka. And there's a lot to learn from it by the Lord's affection and the stepmother's affection towards the Lord. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let me, as you prepare for questions, read over the the English translations of the two texts. Text 28. After entering the house of the father, he was embraced by the mothers present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. And then text 29, the translation is, the mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wedded the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So much love shown here. So are there any questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
If anybody has any questions, you can just unmute yourself and go ahead. I am still dwelling on that point you said about your Guru Maharaj saying, don't blame Kali Yuga, because that's sometimes our tendency. Make bad choices and say somebody else made me do it instead of taking responsibility. But the gist of both those verses is just really beautiful. How we need to show respect to all the mothers.
Very important.
Very important.
Very, 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 very important. Because that brings harmony. Yeah. And harmony is what we need to get to in this age of quarrel. As Guru Maharaj says, we should live in Satyayuga consciousness. It doesn't matter what's around us. Satyayuga consciousness. Brahminical consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Guru's mercy. Anyone else? Got a question or comment? Some of you are parents yourselves, so this is affection showed by parent to son, or for that matter, parent to daughter, parent to child. There is so much to learn from this. Any questions? Okay. So if there aren't any, then we can stop here. It's about an hour. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today is Monday. Yeah, which means that there will be, is Drona on the line? I don't know. But there will be your Bhagavad Gita happy hour at 5 o'clock, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, happy hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay. So it would be nice to attend, tune in, and hear the transcendental words from Krishna, talking to Arjuna for our own benefit. Vanchakapatarubhischa kripa sindhya evacha Vitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a good day, dear devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.